Welcome to Voiceprint with Trevor Devall and Guests. And now, your host and mine, Trevor Devall.
Episode 28 of Voiceprint with Trevor Devall and Guests. 28. That's a lot. That's a lot. And I owe it all to you, my diligent fans who keep writing into me saying, give us some more Voiceprint. So I'm giving you more Voiceprint. This has been a rough year, as I've said in previous shows. I haven't had a lot of shows out. But this obviously will be the last show of 2010, a year that I will be very happy to see the ass end of, quite frankly.
You said ass.
I can beep it up. But I won't. Anyway, welcome back. This is Voiceprint with Trevor Devall and Guests. I am, as always, your intrepid host, Trevor Devall. And let's just get on with the show. I have with me today a man who needs no introduction. But I'm going to give him an introduction because that's what I do. But before we do that, I just want to do what I always like to do and play a little clip of some of his work, and we'll see if you can recognize where this one's from. A little clip of our guest today.
Over here! Wise judgment. I suppose it wouldn't be a real game unless you transformed. I'll do the same.
You're a mutant as well.
Those Kirihara people refer to me as the Soul Crusher. Now that I've mutated, you can be sure I won't hold back. Very interesting trick. But my techniques are far more superior.
That stance he's taking, don't tell me.
Lightning Crusher!
Far more superior? Can something be more superior? I don't even know. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the multi-talented, the lovely Paul Dobson.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to my little studio.
Yes, I feel quite, well, I'll just start off by saying I was unaware that you were going to be naked. You didn't warn me of this at all.
Yeah, there's a contract people sign. They're not supposed to tell future guests what the
heard
horrible truth is.
Well, I heard there was a dress code, but I thought at the very least, you'd be wearing a dress.
Thanks for coming on. You are the third and final Dobson to be on Voiceprint. Not out of any preference. It's just the way it worked out.
It's the way the cookie bounced.
It is, and I, as well as all the fans, are very pleased to have you on the show because, as you will see, you have a tremendous following.
Stop it! I'm a tingle with anticipation.
There's a whole ream of questions here, but
You said ream.
You said ream.
Carry on.
But we'll get to that towards the end of the show. But to begin the show, let's just have a little quick look at your history.
Oh.
And now, Voiceprint with Trevor Devall and Guests presents In Memoriam, a history of our guests' long and faithful service to the cause of voice acting. This is what I do with my time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a total geek.
I love it. I love your setup. I think it's great.
It works. It works okay.
No, it's better than just something that works. You got it together. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you.
Better than most of my friends' ones that I've walked in on. Like, okay, and what are the egg crates for?
I have in front of me a list of your working history.
My accomplishments.
Your accomplishments, according to IMDb. Uh-huh. Now, IMDb is sometimes accurate, sometimes
and sometimes not.
Not so much with the accurate. Mm-hmm. But I've got in front of me here, so let's just sort of pick things at random here.
As long as it doesn't start off with one that I saw once. What was it? The Gay Man in Bed. That one left me with a feeling of At the very most indifference.
Of deep satisfaction.
Something's going on.
So the first one I have here is a video game, Warhammer 40,000, Dawn of War 2, Chaos Rising. Now, you were heavily involved in that whole line, were you not?
It's true, and my vocal cords hate me for it. So,
I remember we were calling the Warhammer games the Voice Wrecker, because that was where your brother Brian...
That's where the dawn of war comes from, within the throat. It's painful.
Yes, it's...
You walk out of there bleeding.
Yeah. Yuck.
But also being such a huge game with people, it's an honor to be a part of it, obviously. So.
Yeah. A massive fan base for that one. What else we got here? A whole bunch of stuff. Now, Hulk versus Thor and Hulk versus Wolverine. This is a massive point of contention for me.
Go.
That you were. Do you remember who you played in these?
Bill. I was Bill.
Says, I'm seeing Hogan here. I'm not Hogan.
Yeah, there was Hogan. That's one of the Warriors 3.
Ah, yes.
And there was another Hulk one where I was, what was his name? Something Bill. It'll come later. I tell you, once you do enough of these things, at my age, they all sort of tend to blend into each other. And trust me, it's in one ear, out the other. As soon as I'm out the studio, it's like, whoa.
I completely understand. It's the exact same thing with me. So I don't expect you to actually remember any of this stuff.
I usually have cheat sheets with me or something like that. When I go to the conventions, I will usually take the precaution of having a cheat sheet in front of me, lest I look as Alzheimer's as I really am.
321 Penguins is a TV series.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was over at Airways, wasn't it?
Yeah, even though it was somewhat of a Christian-based show.
Oh, really? Oh.
It still was a blast. It was an absolute blast. I got to play like this Aussie sort of a blend of like an Aussie Cockney navigator. I was
Mitchell.
Yeah,
Mitchell.
That's him. Oh yeah, Captain. We used to buzz all around the universe. You know, it was fun. It was bloody marvelous.
Very good. Here's another big one. This is a big one. This is a really big one. One of my personal favorites.
Here it comes.
George of the Jungle.
Oh,
Ape.
The Ape was fun. That was a good show to work on. Actually, I'm actually surprised that it didn't go more seasons than what it did. Everyone thought it would, and believe it or not, they still talk of that show going again.
Well, it's
although talk is cheap,
as we've discovered so many times.
They don't have to pay me for them talking, just for me talking.
Yeah, I mean that's a big line. George of the Jungle. Obviously, those characters have been around for a long time in many incarnations.
Looking around at Lee Tokar and saying, George, come on. Put your loincloth back on. Are you guys noticing the nudity theme going on there?
This is another huge one and a massive one.
Right after I said nudity. That's the comment.
This is a huge one.
Oh my God. Trevor, I had no idea. We're going to need a bigger studio.
Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom. In comic lore. This is huge.
I felt very honored, I guess, for lack of a better word, to be able to play Doctor Doom, because it's such an iconic character, and just, I mean, that's one of the top evil guys that have ever been created.
No kidding.
You know?
No
Hats
kidding.
off to Stan Lee. I mean, like, wow. That was great. I had a great time with that. On the same show, I also got to play Mole Man, which was fun. It was just fun, because right down to just the manic demeanor of the man. But I came up with this laugh that was, they equated it to, it sounded like, I believe one of the fellows that was directing it said that it sounds like Paul Dobson smokes 15 packs of cigarettes a day and downs about a quart whiskey or something like that. Because would you like to hear an example of it?
I was just going to ask you.
And I will rule Subterranea. Yes, my little Molites.
was very whistly.
Wow, you hit me in the eye with a cigarette butt there.
Well, something, yeah, and I actually got a head rush from doing that. I feel like Miley Cyrus and Salvia right now. That was pretty good.
He's here till Thursday. Tip your waitress. Cool, very cool. There's a whole bunch of other like this list here goes on and on. So I'm just sort of picking ones at random. Black Lagoon, Oban, Star Racers, Transformers, Cybertron.
Lots of anime stuff. Yeah,
Lots
definitely.
of anime, tons of it. The Bionicle films, Bionicle 3, Web of Shadows here. Kong, the animated series. Now, that's a number of years ago, isn't it?
Yep.
Did they ever come back and do anything more recently? Because Kong was like 2000 or something, I think.
I've not been notified of it if they have. Bastards. Just bring me in and then toss me to the side of the road like a piece of garbage.
Like the rest of us.
We got to play all different kinds of characters on that. On that one, I was like this massive demon, but there were all different kinds of things that would be going on with Kong, the mighty Kong.
Yes.
Which I believe was played by Scott McNeil. There's a voice that the fans know,
Yes,
I'm sure.
they know and love Scotty
yes.
very well. This next one is a very big one, a huge big one, huge massive one with the fans. Inuyasha. Inuyasha. And you played, what was his name? Naraku.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I'm not an
And
avid,
Miyoga.
I'm not an avid anime watcher, so I don't really know who Naraku is. But according to the fans, it's a huge, massive character.
Dead sexy.
Dead sexy.
Dead sexy. I believe that, I've made a few of the female fans melt with that voice. Not that that's the voice I'm doing right now. But, he was always at the pinnacle of evil with himself. He was the epitome of evil. A demon where tentacles could fly out of my body at any random given time. I enjoyed that one immensely, yes. If only life could imitate art a little bit.
Indeed.
Oh my God, what's it? Sweet. Ask and you shall receive. Put that thing away.
Bursting out. Alien Racers. This is a show that you and I did together. You played a character named Warcoil on. You took great delight in trying to screw me up in the middle of my big monologues on that show.
And that's all you seem to have. I've never worked on a cartoon where someone had almost a full page of dialogue and was expected to read it in 5 seconds. I felt for the man, but that didn't stop me from fucking with him. Watching Trevor's face turn red while he's trying to spit out 1 million words in a minute. How could you not do little pantomime moves beside him that would take his attention off the page?
Involving the groin area.
There was movement.
There was
movement.
Oh, I hate you guys. I'm just trying to do my job, and there you are trying to screw me up. It's terrible.
Hey, when you have that kind of success, people are going to mess with you, Trev.
Transformers. There's a number of series that we did here. Transformers. They're always named differently. Like this one's
Cybertron
and Energon. And I think
Now it's gone.
No. Try the bill. This kid's on fire, ladies and gentlemen.
What was one of the bigger names on that? Rodimus Prime.
Yeah. Overhaul, Red Alert. Yeah, that all sounds familiar. This is another huge one.
I don't know was I Red Alert or Sideways, I thought.
I don't know. Sideways in Transformers Armada, apparently. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Trapjaw, Man-E-Faces,
yes.
Triclops.
Yep.
Yes, this is all ringing bells.
Just sounds like a great party in the West End, doesn't it?
G.I. Joe Spy Troops, the movie. Barrel Roll. X-Men Evolution. You were Juggernaut on that. I remember that. That was one of my early jobs, and I remember you on that show.
Yeah.
Doing the big...
You're noticing the theme, like, get a lot of villains. And...
Yes, and in fact, this comes up in many of the questions as well, that the fans act. Lots of bad guys.
They seem to like me for the big kind of sound. I'm able to generate by clinching my... Never mind. Never mind.
This is one of my all-time favorite shows that I actually watch for pleasure, which I normally don't. But, it's the Mr. Hell Show.
I loved doing that show. That was...
Very funny show.
Not only because it paid immensely well. They would literally... There were so many different roles to play on that show during any one given episode that it was... If it wasn't so horrible as far as the way that they dole out the roles, you got to laugh just so that you don't scream. They turned it into a viper pit. They go, well, we got here's a role right now. All right, you guys fight for it. And literally almost like just throw a page of dialogue at everyone. Everybody get to look at it and go, okay, you. How about you over there? And it's like, people that you thought were your friends, all of a sudden they're just like,
The role's mine. I want the money. I want the money.
and you just watch them go. I should have brought a knife. I would have gotten way more money. It would have been good.
I love that term, by the way, viper pit. It's so accurate.
Yeah.
It's so accurate.
And with certain actors that will remain nameless, they literally turn into that.
No, I'm going to do another voice for that one.
It's like, wow, you've already had 5 stabs at the can. Come on, give someone else a try.
Spread the wealth out here.
But the Mr. Hell Show, that was a blast to work on, just for the fact that being so adult-oriented that you could really run with the ball with dialogue. They let us ad-lib a lot of the stuff. They would... it had the right amount of filth that was a good dose of British humor thrown in there. And unfortunate but true, the lead character, the fellow who played Mr. Hell, passed away. That sort of put a little bit of a damper on us doing anything more with it. But I think that... the BBC had carburation problems over there, Trevor. Yes. What were you doing last night?
Not on the air, please.
That's a whole different story.
That's a whole other show.
Different ball game. Oh, I know the editing is going to take place now. They when they shipped that show over to England to be aired, it's supposedly the handling of it might have been done a little better, not to point any fingers, but it was something that had legs, and it could have done so much better had it been handled and presented in the right manner.
Right.
Because, people that call it up now, they're just like, that's brilliant, man.
Yeah.
It would have been kind of nice to be able to carry on with that.
Well, it's a very funny show.
the hefty paycheck that was behind that one.
No kidding.
Oh my God! When
kidding.
you're talking like $8,000 days and stuff for like doing cartoons.
Yeah, no
Not
kidding.
that that's big by Hollywood standards. Little bastards that are taking our jobs
Wow,
just because you got a name.
Yeah, ridiculous. Mega Man, or Rockman, as it's...
Man, that's a while ago.
Yeah, 2001. Mr. Wily, apparently.
Yep. The Doctor.
The Doctor. Reboot. The character of Matrix.
Yeah,
Reboot was another big seminal series.
That's one that I definitely get many questions from the fans about, which is cool, actually, because there again, that's another iconic character. A lot of people that are at the conventions, they were around the perfect age that they could see
Right.
Enzo Matrix doing his thing, and
Right.
just the fact that he was big and muscular and green with that one red eye. Yep. Oh, I tell you. And back then, I was hitting the gym a lot more. Not that I looked exactly like that. I wasn't green, but I had the goatee and the spiky hair, right? And so people were like, "Did they model him after you?" I like to think that they did. But
Soul Taker is another show. It's a show that actually that's what our clip was from.
Okay.
Show. This was way back in 2001. What else have we got here? Oh, it's Project Arms, Gundam Wing, the Escaflowne. This is another
Falcon.
Yes,
played
Falcon. Yes, that's
And
right.
that was a fun one because they did a cinematic theatrical
That's right.
release
That they screened over here across the street at Tinseltown.
at Tinseltown, and
Yes.
hear your voice booming across a theater. That was
That's something.
something. I really enjoyed it.
I did like a tiny little character in that. And apparently, the fans, I've been asked to do this character, like in the autograph lineups at conventions. They come up and they go, yeah, could you leave like the phone message in Shesta's voice? And I'm like,
Don't you just love it when they want you to leave their phone?
But we do it.
Yes,
We do it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's fun to be asked certain things. I don't know, what the heck do you say? What do you say?
Francis isn't home right now, but I'm in a room going through underwear drawer. What a haul! What a haul! you wouldn't have heard your old man, would you?
Wow, Paul, can you leave that as my
That would be Hapassai from Ranma 1/2.
Very nice.
The underwear thief, the original underwear thief.
You know, this is most people that come on the show do not remember the shows and the characters like you do, my friend. I
Really?
must say,
Wow.
this is your recall is pretty good here.
Maybe I'm not as Alzheimer's as I thought.
Apparently not. Beast Machines, Transformers,
Obsidian.
Tankor, Obsidian. Yes, this is another big show at the fest, is it not?
Yeah, that was like around somewhat close to the beginning of my career, so I was pretty happy to get on like some of these brand new CGI shows.
Yeah, right.
Back at that, like this is the inception of CGI animation coming out and going mainstream.
Right.
Like and being well done, you know, like the fellas that were working at Mainframe, I don't know if many people know that they were the ones that came out with the first CGI thing with Dire Straits. Money for Nothing.
Money for Nothing, the video.
Money for
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
That was them, and they started the ball rolling, and then they branched off and formed Mainframe sort of thing, and then they came out with Reboot,
right.
being the first of those that nature of show, and then they started branching off and doing things such as Beast Machines, and then it was thrilling because we'd get to walk in there and they would have examples of what they'd done already, and they pumped it out pretty quick. I was pretty impressed. And to watch it going by season, the leaps and bounds that they made in, like, you remember how the characters moved in the Money for Nothing video. Like it was
a little blocky.
Yeah. Just a little blocky, yes. And to watch the one thing that I think most people really noticed is the walking and the running. Like how staccato kind of looking, and it wasn't fluid.
Yeah.
And to watch them bringing in like the next generation of animation and the next generation, and watching them getting better and better at doing that till the stage that it's at now, where, I mean, for God's sakes, they make porn these days. Not Mainframe. I don't even think Mainframe exists anymore. Well, not on paper, at least, anyway.
Not for tax
Don't
purposes.
want those tax guys coming up. They don't make any money at all. I mean, like they have all different manner of entertainment, from like kids shows to adult entertainment. So yeah, it's pretty amazing what they've been able to achieve. I mean, like even watching a show, what's that space show with the guy that looks like an upside down octopus running around with the really hot space chick, and everywhere she goes, her boobs have that. I believe the term is Mama Quasha. And they just sort of, like, when she stops moving, but a couple of parts of her don't for at least a second or two afterwards. Mama Quasha, yes, write that term down. Yeah.
Well, that's the height of animation, if you can keep those breasts jiggling for just a moment after they stop. You know?
Hang on, let's take a second.
Let's have a moment as we imagine.
Okay, I went to the
right.
happy place and I'm back now.
Shadow Raiders is another show. A character named Graveheart.
Graveheart, yes.
Now, it says you're the new Addams Family. You were Cousin It. Is that right?
I was. I wasn't in the suit. Thank God. My goodness, it would have burned me out. But yeah, that was an interesting one because they wanted me to, in essence, make up a language.
Right.
Because obviously he's not allowed to, his character doesn't speak English. But you have to convey what he wanted to happen and such. So in a manner of, without using English, you would have to come up with words and sounds that would match the gestures, because I did that ADR style.
Right.
They'd film it, and then they'd pull me into, I think I did that at Postmodern Sound. Yeah, and we'd sit back and I would watch what happened and try and make up sounds that were close to words, but not really words. Like if I was talking to Tuesday,
Give me now on Tuesday.
sort of thing, and without saying
Tuesday.
Right.
you know, you just sort of bury it in a myriad of sounds.
So the whole thing was essentially improv then. You just making it up as you go.
Just make it up as I went along. And
That's kind of cool.
So it was. Sometimes if it was a heavy dialogue-driven sort of scene and stuff, sometimes it's a little bit of a brain strain.
Yeah.
Especially if you were out the night before. So, yeah, it could be a little bit much, but it was cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's neat. Silent Mobius is another show, as well as Jinro the Wolf Brigade. Now, this was a fairly big event, I think, in anime movie.
I thought we said we weren't going to talk about Jinro. You know what happened. I don't even know what happened.
No. Dragon Ball Z, huge still to this day. Character named Zarbon.
They're probably making episodes as we speak still.
They probably are.
There are those certain shows you well know that just they don't seem to go away.
No, never. And this was, I mean, the late 90s, you recorded this show, and they're still to this day, it blows my mind, the popularity of this show.
What was it? The super sappy tree. The tree of might. Yes.
Yep, that was fun.
This is one of my personal favorites because it's one of the few animes I've actually seen in Vampire Hunter, the animated series. If I recall.
Was that the one with? Is that the one with Demetrius?
Dmitry Maximov.
Yeah, Dmitry
Maximov.
Yeah, that's right.
Every now and then, I allow myself to... I'm not going to say the rest.
because I can't remember it. All right, I'm Alzheimer. But
when I was in I think high school, university, whatever, me and some friends would occasionally get like a bottle of rum and rent up some anime and just laugh at it because it makes no sense to us at all.
Yeah.
And I remember Vampire was one of the ones we would laugh at particularly.
well, it's nice to know that you were laughing at me.
Yes. I mean, it's not you. I was laughing near you. No, I remember it was because your voice. Now that I know you, of course, I remember
That was one of
voice
the
this
first
character.
shows where I had scenes with myself. And as you know, doing a scene with yourself is conjures up all different kinds of things in the minds of all the fans right now. Look, what's he doing? He's having a scene with himself. Where? What? Never mind. I remember I played the butler on that show and Dimitri.
So I was talking about the guests being downstairs, sir. They're ready to take you as their host. And so I'd walk in, and next thing you know, I would
basically go bananas and kill everyone until like the whole room's dripping in blood, as most good parties end up. You know, that's yeah.
don't come back. You won't be able to. So
So many here, so many. Street Fighter, the animated series.
That was a crazy one. I got to play tons of characters on that.
Yes.
To the point where it probably pissed off some of the other cast members. What are you giving it to Dobson for?
Spread it around, why don't you?
Yeah, oh, that was crazy. I think I did like 7 guys on that show or something like that. But yeah, another one where you're walking. There are different categories for the fans out there that when you do a principal character, they call it a P. It's a P1. So if you're walking away and you're a P5 5 during the course of one episode. You're doing all right financially.
Yeah.
That's
a pretty
good.
big day. That's that's a good day. So many. Ranma 1/2, which you already mentioned. Haposai, is that the name?
Haposai.
Haposai.
Yeah.
I never get these Japanese names.
These Jap names right. I never
Oh,
get them
he
right.
said that, the J word. Oh, it's almost close to the N word from what I've been told. I know, because I used it once in front of the wrong person. Like, what did you just say? I said, "Well, really? That's a bad word? Can you guys put out some kind of handbook so we know what to say and what we can't say?"
It's always changing. I can't keep up. So many. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about how you got in the business.
Okay.
Some of your favorite moments in the booth.
Weird, wild stuff.
and then we'll start taking some questions from the fans. So we'll be right back after these commercial messages. Don't go anywhere.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Frederick Von Fiddlefapper reporting to you live from Grover's Mill, New Jersey, where there seems to be a crash site for a gigantic unidentified flying object. Witnesses saw a huge fireball hurling across the sky at breakneck speed, which then plowed straight into the middle of the town square. I now have with me Dr. Brouhaha, professor of all things geeky. Tell us, Doctor, is this the first sign of intelligent alien life from another galaxy?
Well, this appears to be a gigantic antenna meant to spread news about video games, cartoons, anime, movies, technology into the atmosphere, and it is called the Big Bald Broadcast.
Tell us, why do you call it that, Doctor?
It says right there in huge letters. What, are you an idiot? Swineford.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I'm absolutely speechless right now, ladies and gentlemen. This Big Bald Broadcast is having a bizarre effect on the townspeople, including yours truly. I have the sinister urge to tune my web browser over to bigbaldbroadcast.blogspot.com and download the latest geeky news with hosts, voice actor Kyle Hebert and musician Otherworld Steve. I'll also have to check for daily nerdy news links on twitter.com/bbroadcast. Now, if you'll excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go get an iPhone and fondle it.
Settle in. This could be a long one.
We all know babies are cute, right?
Right.
Little bundles of joy that fill every day with love. But there's so much work. And let's face it, once they grow up a little bit, they're just plain irritating, stupid, and ugly, with big, dumb, wobbly heads and disgusting, dirty skin. If only they could stay cute little babies forever.
I know, right?
Welcome to the world of Disposa-Baby.
Disposa-Baby?
Disposa-Baby.
Disposa-Baby?
Yes, Disposa-Baby. The baby that's only as real as you want it to be. Thanks to the miracle of genetics and complete disregard for scientific ethics, you can finally have a baby without being condemned to parenthood. When you want attention from your friends, just take Disposa-Baby out of her airtight plastic strongbox, and suddenly all eyes are on you. Disposa-Baby has no sphincter, so messy diapers are a thing of the past.
Well, I like that.
After feeding, just hang Disposa-Baby by her feet above the sink and watch the formula gently discharge out of her face and neatly down the drain. No fuss, no muss.
Just like a stuck pig.
Exactly. Disposa-Baby comes equipped with a fully functional voice box to make her seem more lifelike. But if Disposa-Baby's realistic cries become maddening, just place your hand around Disposa-Baby's throat and shake. Watch as Disposa-Baby falls into a quiet slumber. Just try that with a real baby.
What if I want to go on vacation?
No problem. Put Disposa-Baby in the freezer until she winds down. Then, when you return from holiday and want to see her again, just pop her in the microwave for 30 seconds and watch as Disposa-Baby magically returns to life. No babysitter required. Disposa-Baby comes in a variety of ethnicities to suit any family. When you're finally done with Disposa-Baby, just place her in a biodegradable paper coffin and bury her in a shallow grave in the woods out back. She is 100% eco-friendly and good for planet Earth. Completely unlike real babies. It's Disposa-Baby, just like a real human baby, only better. From Clone Co., the friendly scientists who brought you Petables, the pets you can eat.
You're listening to Voiceprint with Trevor Devall and Guests.
And we're back with the lovely and talented Paul Dobson.
Hello.
Um,
Dispose of baby.
Yes, dispose of me. This is the real reason why I do this show, so I can have an excuse to do stupid
Oh, I'm seeing you in a new light, definitely. Learning more about you all the time.
There's not much to know. I'm sort of an open, disgusting book. More than anything. How did you start? How did you get in this wacky business of voiceover?
Funny story, really. I was working late one night in a strip bar. We won't say which one. Number 5 Orange. And
Seriously?
oh yeah. I was working. That was one of my first jobs when I came over from Victoria, the island, Vancouver Island, Victoria, and I was working as a disc jockey over there in various nightclubs, strip bars, pubs. Yes, I even did weddings, and I realized that there was more for me out in the real world than Vancouver Island was going to be able to provide for me. Not that there's anything wrong with Vancouver Island. It's a beautiful place to live. But I decided to make the big jump across the pond and come to Vancouver. And I managed to land a job at the Marble Arch. Rest in peace. So I started there and moved back and forth between the Marble Arch and, you know, getting to be known in the DJ community over here, which requires that you take shifts from pretty much every other DJ in town, and we would just trade back and forth. And so by the end of it, I'd probably worked in every single strip bar and in Vancouver.
And what year was this?
Oh man, that's like almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And math was never a strong subject for me to pull out the exact year. But if we go back to, if you look up, I guess, what would be my first job? My first job probably was T-Rex. I was on the show called T-Rex, and I was Colonel Fang Crotalis. But before that, I digress. I was working at the 5, and who should walk in but my older brother, Michael, with a, you may know this name, a person by the name of Scott McNeil. And Scott heard me on the microphone. I was incapable of just being one of those straight up introduce the girls sort of thing. I would always tell jokes and do impersonations and just be stupid on the mic. I mean, look what I'm doing for a living. I'm putting girls on stage so they can take off their clothes for drunk men in a room. How do you take that seriously? You know, not that I didn't mind. Never mind. So I was on the mic and being silly, and he came up to the booth and exclaimed that he thought that I was good on the microphone. The characters were funny. I seemed to have a good presence. How would I like an audition for a cartoon? Oh, yeah. Aria. Yeah, I'd like to get out of the bars, I thought. And so I jumped at the chance, and he got me an audition for a cartoon. I believe it was called Trolls. And so I went in with my stuff for the audition, and the director, who happened to be Mike Donovan, he was an up-and-comer director in like, that was some of his first directorial debuting stuff, but he was getting fairly widely used. Mike, at the end of my audition, stood up and started clapping.
Wow.
I know. And so, I mean, like, I didn't know what usual protocol or whatever happens.
A rare display of support from Mr. Donovan.
It was my first audition. And he stood up and he asked me, Mr. Dobson, why haven't I heard from you before? And I told him, well, it's my first audition. He goes, Mr. Dobson, it certainly won't be your last.
Well.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so with that, I didn't get on that cartoon, by the way. But I knew that I'd sort of found something that I was actually quite passionate about, and I really thought that maybe if I applied myself, I could pull this off.
And clearly you were right.
Well, thank you very much. It was just something that just seemed so creative, and to be able to fly into a room and have fun. I mean, I love my job. I have fun every time that I come. There are some projects that are painful. It's not all peaches and cream, my little jelly beans. There are certain ones, as you can attest to, that when you do them, it's just like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over.
Yeah. Oh, we'll be talking about some of those a little later on.
And so I just kept on plodding on. I got out of the bars and quickly came to the realization that, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. And with the lack of getting anything sort of thing, I ended up becoming a waiter.
Wow, really?
Yeah, at the Granville Island Hotel.
Wow.
And that was an experience and a half. So I did that for a little while. And then started nailing some jobs and realized that, all right, I'm not going to be a waiter very long. Not that there's anything wrong with being a waiter. Some of my best friends are waiters, and they've become quite independently wealthy from doing it.
Yes, they do very well.
But I just knew that wasn't for me, and that I wanted to be a voice actor.
So did you ever do any acting before this? Anything at all? No, nothing.
No, well...
Well, there was that one time.
In Victoria, my older brother Mike was involved with a dinner theater company. I believe her name was Edna. And it was a lovely older lady. But it felt like sometimes there was a little bit of slipping away from reality with some of the plays that she was producing. Remember, it's dinner theater. I knew that I wasn't cut out for dinner theater when the character that I got cast as died a horrible death. I died from diarrhea. Dinner theater.
Dinner theater, mind you.
Dinner theater. I had one scene, my death scene at the end, and where I literally fall off the stage at the end of it, because that's what they wanted me to do, sort of fall out of the stage light from, there's the diarrhea again. And I fall off the stage and sort of just crawl off behind the curtain, making strange sounds of the death throes of diarrhea.
Oh, my God.
Dinner theater. I know.
You were crazy to leave it. That sounds like the best job ever.
Oh, yeah. For Mike, it was the best thing, because he laughs about that one to this day. To this day, I still have to hear stories of, do you remember when you died from diarrhea, man?
I'm going to have to go back and listen to episode 2, because Mike was my guest on episode 2.
Okay.
I think episode 2. I have to go back and see if he told that story.
Does he mention the death by diarrhea? Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Let's phone him right now and badger him.
So how did you wind up becoming a DJ then?
I had a knack for going to parties.
It's a valuable skill, apparently.
I think Trevor can attest to. Yes, I can be fun at parties.
Yes,
But I would always find myself just dissatisfied with what people were playing at these parties, and looking around at the guests just sort of standing there, sort of lamely wallflowering it about, that it could be better. So I'd find myself at the stereo, and I'd just go through their album collection and start throwing on random songs that I thought would get the party going. And sure enough, I could get a full dance floor going at any party that I went to. And so my friends would look at me and they say, man, you're really good at doing that. You should be a DJ. And so I looked into it and went and auditioned for one of the companies that was doing well, DJ Services, in Victoria. And they liked what I did, and so they decided to train me at one of the bars in town that they had the contract for, the Brass Rail. Do you like all the little name drops? I'm surprised I remember half of them.
I'm telling you, your recall is unbelievable. These details.
And so I became popular because I'd sneak in bottles of booze to Kelly, the guy that was training me. He's like, hey, we're going to get along just fine. And so we'd pleasantly get drunk while he'd show me the ropes on how to work a board and crossfade and beat mix and do all these things. And so it turned out I had a knack for that. And next thing you know, I was hosting New Year's Eve parties on Main Island and all these kinds of things. And these guys started requesting that I come back, like booking me years in advance. So I knew I was doing something right. And then that turned into me DJing in pretty much every bar that was going in Victoria. Like you just that's what DJs would do. You just float around
doing
from
the
bar
circuit.
to bar, doing the circuit, exactly.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, but I also come to the realization that if you work in a bar for a living,
It's a bit of a death sentence.
wow, your liver just gives you the finger when it's halfway through. It's a little painful, and no man could handle that forever.
No.
Without being horribly changed.
But how did you discover then? You said before that you do like impersonations and things like this. Was that just something you'd always done, or was it something?
That comes with, we moved around a lot, so I mean, you're always the new kid at school. But because we moved cross country and from country to country,
Right.
not just the new kid at school, but the new kid that sounds funny.
Right.
You're a target.
Right.
So I discovered after losing my face many times that there was a formula that worked universally. And in England, I mean, a lot of the public schools were primarily run like the little subculture. It's gangs, like little mini gangs that run around the schoolyard beating the crap out of people that they feel like doing at random. I discovered at a fairly early age that if I could make the leaders of these gangs laugh, somewhat court jester style, that next thing you know, you leave him alone. He's my right-hand man. And so if you make them laugh, you get to keep your face. Your grades go down because you have to become a little bit of a class clown. And sure, you get the, I've gotten the cane before. I've been... They have weird ways of administering corporal punishment back then.
Yes.
Kids, you don't know the half of it.
No kidding.
I mean, now you've got it easy.
No kidding.
And you can threaten to write a book. But back in the day, there were no holds barred. If you were a bad kid, I mean, you got it. Like I'd be standing there in my shorts, get taken to the headmistress's office. And while standing there in your shorts, you get the cane across the back of the knees.
Wow.
And that's what they would deliver.
Toughen you up, kid.
Oh, yeah. And you're not allowed to cry.
No.
Because you go back into class crying.
Then you lose your face.
You're just,
So it was always violence then. No, you couldn't avoid the violence. You either get
can't?
beat up by the kids or by the teachers.
So
So pick your poison.
Yeah.
Pick your form of punishment.
But I mean, I'd rather have friends.
Yes,
That's
right.
I mean, so I and the rest of my sibs, we all discovered that if we were silly, which we apparently had a natural knack for, you get to survive.
Right.
And so it was almost a matter of survival that we just sort of became as silly as we are today.
Right. And how old were you when you left England behind you?
We got there when I was 6. I remember my first day was like it was on one of my birthdays, and they ended up throwing me up on stage because children, we're very blessed today to have a young man that's come from across the ocean, and he's going to tell us what it's like to be Canadian. I had no idea they were doing this, by the way. They just sort of hauled me out into this black area. And I had no idea. They were leading me to the assembly, and I was the star of the assembly, and no one told me.
Wow!
And then next thing you know, Master Paul Dobson, and I have no idea. And all of a sudden, I get dragged out in front of all these lights and a whole school full of students.
Wow!
Just staring at me with this look of like, who the fuck is this guy? And then they just put me in. Master Paul, so you're from a country by the name of Canada. Can you tell us what it's like to be Canadian? I just sort of stood there like a deer in the headlights, just thinking, Talking about that's some. If there's anything beyond stage fright, I had it. I had it right there. And so everything short of wetting myself, the patch forming in the front, the trickle down the leg, the pool that you get to stand in. I just froze. And so they started to try and lead me into questions, and they realized they weren't really getting anywhere. Oh, we understand it's your birthday today. Could you tell us what you got for your birthday? And so I just went into this blind, stupid list of like the couple things that I'd gotten from. I got a whizzer, which is a spinning top with a gyro in it, and a fire engine. And as captivating as that might sound for all of you and for all the members of that student body at the time, all I could focus on was the guys at the back of the room placing their fists in their open palms and making that sound, and I realized I was a dead man. So
You're one dead Canadian, mate.
oh yeah.
I don't know what it feels like to be Canadian, but here's what it feels like to be Brit. Painful.
Yeah, exactly. And they're cruel because they beat the crap out of you. Like, you get surrounded. After school, I got surrounded, had the crap kicked out of me until you're down on the ground, sort of panting and bleeding. And then they grab you by the arms and the legs, and you hear this, "All right, lads, 1, 2, 3!" And they throw you through the air into the pit of stinging nettles.
Oh, my
Just
God.
for the exclamation point. It's a welcome wagon no one really needs. But, yeah. So it was a matter of survival. We stayed there for a number of years, and how old was I when we came back? I was like...
About 80.
I was 92. 92. But I looked marvelous for my age aside from the loss of a limb.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't expect such a trauma. Normally, I ask the
It's
question.
surprising I like human beings at all, Trevor. At all.
No, normally people's response is like, "Oh, I've just been silly all my life," or but
Well, no, I had to fight off the mobs of British thugs, and the only way
It
to
was
do it
like
was to
that
make them
for
laugh.
for all my sibs. We've all been through the trauma.
Wow.
And
This is my coping mechanism.
well, you've certainly made it work for you. Let me say that.
Yeah, I'm just waiting until I have to pull the rifle out of the closet and go to the clock tower and let everyone know this. This is my swan.
I've had enough.
My swan song. And I'm not gonna take it anymore. Yeah.
So
This one's for you, Mrs. Rook.
that's funny now. It won't be in 10 years after it's happened.
No. After I learn how to steal people's medication when I'm put away in the home, I'll be in a nice stupor and I'll be in that fine mood for the clock tower.
You heard it first here on Voiceprint.
Oh, I didn't try to hide anything. Quite plainly.
He admitted it. He told us his plans.
I have problems.
So if you had any advice for newcomers trying to break into the business, coming as you do from sort of a different background than a lot of the actors in town here, what kinds of things might you, or if there was one or two sort of main things, what...
Bring a bigger gun to the studio than what I have, because if you don't, you're done. You're through. You're finished. You're never working this town again. It's a tough one because, you got to realize with... I know guys that are in the biz right now, and they've been in for a long time, and they're like struggling because it's with the economy doing what it does, it flies up and down so much. But not to discourage anyone, because everyone should have a shot at doing what they want to do for a dream. And if your dream is to come in and do this, it's a marvelous dream. I'm living mine, and I love it. I would say practice what you're strong at, but the key thing being there, practice. Find any kind of a setup that you can maybe put together. And even if you don't have the money to put something together, at least practice the craft and, watch commercials. I believe commercials are one of the better ways of getting in to doing animation. Animation is a tough egg to crack because, I mean, it's a fairly tight-knit group. And there's so many of us that are all vying for a handful of jobs.
The P5s.
That's my story. I would sit down, and if it's what you like doing, watch the shows and do the imitations and have fun with all these things, because I mean, and you don't have to have a million voices living. You don't have to have a repertoire of
235 last count.
You don't have to have 235 voices. There are people that are quite successful with one voice.
That's right.
But as long as it's a good, strong base that you're working with, and you can manipulate yourself, not like that. And if you can just have the confidence and the desire, and like anything, it comes down to having the passion. Don't just do it on a whim and think that it's going to be a cakewalk walking in, because it's not. It's tough business. There's you're going to be going up against people that have been doing this for a living for years. So to come in and cheapen what they've done for years, thinking that you can just dive in and you're going to run with the ball. Granted, some people have just plopped in and done it. I don't know which one anyone would be, right, to categorize someone. It's up to the individual, and it's a very individual thing. But practice. Have fun with it. If you've got funny voices that live inside your head, seek medical attention. Have fun with it, and
be prepared to have Paul and I standing there in the studio doing this with our
from the back of the room. Yeah, that's right. If it happened for us, it can happen for anyone, and it will happen for you.
And with that, let's go to the mailbag.
Oh.
Martin's mailbag.
He said bag.
Never ends with you, Paulie.
I'm so mature.
Martin tells us that on... Oh, this is late. Well, on Saturday, October 23rd... Wow. Now it's December the 15th. Scary Godmother was on, so I'm sure that was great. I hope you enjoyed it if you saw it. Anyway, here's some appetizers on where you can hear Paul Dobson. Ape on George of the Jungle. Matrix on Reboot. Tankor and Obsidian on Beast Machines, Zarbon of Dragon Ball Z, Doctor Doom of the Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes, Howdy of Hamtaro, Haposai of... Totally. Ranma 1/2, Naraku of Inuyasha, Graveheart of Shadow Raiders, Sideways of Transformers Armada, and Landmine of Transformers Cybertron. Martin asks a question of you. A long time ago, Paula from YTV's Vortex asked you at Anime North if there was ever any character you wanted to be, who would it be? And you apparently answered Doctor Doom. So Martin would like to know, what was your reaction when you found out that you get to be Doctor Doom in the Fantastic Four?
I wet my trousers.
No, I was elated just to become a part of that dynasty. My God, again, what an iconic character to have. It was just, I was just overjoyed. I believe that there were backflips involved, and there was probably much tequila and champagne.
Indeed.
Not
were you a
that
comic
I
kid?
encourage that kind of-
Were you a fan of the comics at all?
I
or-
didn't read lots of comics growing up.
But enough to obviously know who Doctor Doom was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd seen the Fantastic Four comics, and the Human Torch flying around, and Ben Grimm. Ben Grimm really caught my eye as far as what a character could look like, and then the Doctor Doom character just seemed so sinister and evil. It I never really thought that I wanted to be the bad guy back then, but they always held a fascination for me, of course. But finding out that I actually was Doctor Doom, that I got cast that way.
Yeah.
Through the moon! To the moon!
To the moon!
Over the moon!
We have pages and pages of questions here, so let's try and cover them all while we have time. The first one is from Justin. Justin would like to know, actually this is to me, if we could interview Andrew Francis on the show. He originally wanted Tony Sampson to be a guest on the show, but as we discovered last time, Tony has actually quit voice acting now. He's up in like Fort McMurray or something in Alberta, doing some sort of money-making oil-based venture. Anyway.
So he's a grower.
Anyway, we kind of will have Andrew Francis on the show in a special sort of way, but I'll talk a little more about that at the end of the show. So, first official question is from Robin in Sydney, Australia. Hi, Trevor and Paul. Firstly, Trevor, during the time since you returned to Voiceprint, I have seen your work on Shakugan no Shana and Black Lagoon, and enjoyed your roles of Ligarch, Mr. Chang, Marcosius, and Friagne. I get the feeling you had the most fun with Marcosius and his eccentricities. Similarly for Ligarch, that is absolutely true. Those were great fun characters.
Shameless self-promotion.
This one is for Paul. Robin says, I enjoyed your work on Transformers Armada.
Cool.
Also, Alastor on Shakugan no Shana and Graham in Gundam 00. Also, your work in Shadow Raiders, Shadow Raiders, and of course, your work on the Hulk versus movie. The question for Paul is, 1, Paul, do you ever find anyone of the Vancouver voice actors who rival you for evil voices or villain roles? For example, someone like Mark Oliver.
Or someone like Trevor Devall, sitting in front of him right now. I have plans to punch him in the throat at the end of this interview after my own shameless promotion. Mark has a distinct quality about himself that we don't really compete too much for the same things. His villains, mine can be refined, but for the most part are just evil, just mean. Marks are usually like they would be having a cup of tea.
Yes, sort of the very sinister British sort of thing going on. Which he does very well.
Exactly. But yeah, there are always going to be people that you're competing for. I'm trying to think of one that would be a consistent competitor.
What about Drummond?
Yeah, we find ourselves in the same arena, going at it sometimes and such. It can change around. I don't think that there's any one particular one.
Because there's a lot of variety of bad guys too. So many different villains.
Production to production. I mean, sometimes the bad guy can be a little midget. Sometimes, I mean, I've like Alastor. Like not that he was a bad guy, but he was a necklace. He was a brooch with like this infinite sort of like universe molding about inside the brooch itself. So it's not any one particular person. There's a handful of you out there. You will know who you are, and I'll get you all.
The second part of the question. Now, this is something. This is a question for you, but I'm going to answer this, at least the first part, because this question leads into the biggest betrayal of my career.
He's got a knife!
Paul,
Yes.
how did you and 1 to 2 other Canadian voice actors do work on the Hulk versus movies alongside people like Stephen J. Bloom? Was it phoned in or did you go down there to the voice recordings? Now, first of all, let me just say that this series of movies, Hulk versus Thor, Hulk versus Wolverine, what has been to this day the greatest piss off of my career, because
Here it comes.
I was Bruce fucking Banner. I was Bruce Banner on those shows.
So we can't swear. All right.
Fuck me. And then I got replaced by some yank. And the thing is, that's fine. Sometimes you get replaced, but there was a lot of Canadians replaced on this show. A lot of Canadians got replaced.
That vein is popping out on your
It
forehead
is.
again.
It's throbbing. It's throbbing. But the thing is, I don't mind that. If we're going to be replaced, fine, it happens. But the thing is, this was Bruce Banner for this is a massive character. And I would go and I would be bragging to people, well, I'm the next Bruce Banner. And then no. And how I found out about it was a friend of mine sends me a YouTube clip and he goes, wow, you're really versatile. That doesn't sound anything like you.
That isn't me. That's why. Where did you get this?
So furious about that. But of course, Paul, you were one of the ones that remain in the show. You, Colin, I think Scott did some stuff on those as well. He wasn't Wolverine.
See, the drag about this is that I've signed an NDA. about certain things that I can't talk about right now. And, well, let's just say maybe I'm not playing all the characters I'd like to play anymore either. We're apparently quite disposable, Trevor.
It would seem that way. But to answer your question, Sydney, we actually did the voice recordings here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then they sent the scratch track, or what turned out being a scratch track.
There's that vein again.
Oh, furious.
Put that
furious.
knife away.
Anyway.
That phaser's set to kill.
Anyway, I'm feeling much better now. Hello, Trevor and Paul. It's Karen again, and I just finished listening to Kiara's episode. Considering I am new to the Voiceprint audience, I have not had the chance to listen to an episode just after it was put online, so I felt a strong urge to send in my email as fast as possible. I was floored to hear that my favorite of the Dobsons, though I still love the other two as well, was going to be on Voiceprint. Paul, you have played some of my favorite characters in animation. Naraku and Miyoga from Inuyasha.
This is one of my favorite questions so far.
And especially Matrix from Reboot.
Thank you.
I briefly met you at Anime North here in Toronto a few years back, and it is still one of my highlights from that con.
Aww.
My question for Paul is, considering that you do have family that work in the business with you, do you ever find that you get mixed up with your brothers, both with your names and or your voices?
Yes. Yes, that does happen. I get frequently called Brian and Michael.
All at the same time? Brian Michael?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, they have a tendency to mix us up, which is silly in certain ways, but, I mean, you can't... There's three of us, for God's sake.
What are you going to do?
I mean,
the brothers dog.
Exactly. They do mix us up in name, and sometimes forget that we are individuals as far as our voice abilities and such go. I mean, like, Brian's got his range of what his strengths are. Mike's got his, and I've got mine. Personally, when I listen to us, I can hear similarities in certain things, but I also hear the distinct differences.
Me too. I wouldn't be able to. There's no way that I would mix you guys up at all. Like, because you're right. There is a certain, there's a certain resonance that you guys all have, but I would never be able to say, oh my God, they just sound identical. They just don't because you guys are not at all.
But we do get lumped together, and sometimes they won't call one of us in because they've already, well, we've heard two. What's the next one gonna have? What's he gonna have that we haven't already got? And that's a source of frustration.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've all been in that position.
There goes the vein on my forehead.
He's got a nice
son of a...
This next one's from Anthony. Hello, Trevor and Paul. I'm a newbie to the Voiceprint podcast and plan to start tuning in more often after listening to your great interview with Kiara Zani. My favorite role of yours, Paul, is Alastor from the anime Shakugan no Shana.
Lovely.
It was quite amusing to see your voice come from a character who was essentially a necklace, as we just said. Moving on, I've noticed that in Mr. Paul Dobson's career as a voice actor, he's had the opportunity to play various villain roles, whether the menacing Naraku in Inuyasha, the Lucifer Hawk monsters in Silent Mobius, or the sneaky Sideways in Transformers Armada. His voice can fit almost any type of villain just wonderfully. That said, do you have any favorite villain roles, and how much do you enjoy playing so many villains?
I love playing the bad guy. It's great. They always have the best toys. They get, while someone's trying to save the universe, we're running around trying to take it over. Who doesn't want to take it over?
I mean, come on.
Exactly. Favorites. The list could go on. I mean...
and does, as we've seen.
Thank you. Some of the vampires that I played are great. Dr. Doom, come on. That's fantastic. The Mole Man. I don't think I could pick any one particular one that I like more than the other because, I mean, there's just so many facets to each one that for different reasons you just love playing the bad guy.
Yeah. That's always a tough question. Like, what's your favorite characters and stuff? Especially, like you've played so many villains, and they're always fun. The bad guys.
I enjoy them all.
Yes, indeed.
There's a lot, but okay, Naraku was really good too because you could be out late the night before, not too late. Not that I condone that kind of a lifestyle, but.
If you came in and your voice was really kind of just the bottom falls out.
You could pull up to the mic and do those kind of voices, and till the cows come home, and it's just a blast.
Mm-hmm.
If when I was doing the Space Marines on Dawn of War,
right,
if it wasn't such a throat thrasher, that would have been kind of fun. But things of that nature,
that was.
That was good work on that game. I originally played that game. And you were coming through my speakers.
Hey, insert joke here. Hello, Trevor. This is Daniel from England. I listened to episode 26, in which Kirby revealed some great news about Dragon Ball Z Kai. I would like to ask Paul if he has been recasted for the character Zarbon in Dragon Ball Z Kai. I don't know anything about this.
I heard something about Dragon Ball Z coming back.
I heard something as well. But
They're keeping us fairly in the dark because it is going through Ocean Studios. They
notoriously tight-lipped.
I sign more NDAs with Ocean than I do with any other. Any other
almost
thing.
To the point of ridiculousness.
Well, you're just not allowed to talk about stuff.
No.
And so in them saying that we're not allowed to talk about, what would I talk about when I don't know anything? There's been word of recasting. There's been word of holding on to members of the cast as the way that they were. I don't know. It's just so up in the air, and I don't know enough about it yet. In fact, he probably knows more than we do.
I would suspect.
How do you
that's
get your
true.
information? Who are you sleeping with?
This next one is from Michael from Toronto. First off, I'd like to say a big thank you to you and all of your guests, Mr. Devall. It took some time, but after listening to your fabulous show and all awesome episodes, I finally figured out what I'd like to do as a career. It took some planning, but I am currently studying audio engineering at a well-known recording studio in Toronto.
Lovely.
I am enjoying every minute of it and learning lots of things about the craft. Maybe one day I could be the engineer recording one of your shows. Well, that is awesome. Well done, Michael.
Yeah, very cool.
Here's my question. I'm sure we've all noticed that some of the Vancouver VAs have done some on-camera work here and there. Lately, I've been noticing that lots of big-name shows are being filmed in Vancouver, Fringe and Human Target, for example. Personally, I'd like to see you guys on Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, if it wasn't cancelled. I think Paul would make a really awesome Terminator, and...
Sweet!
Yes, I have met Summer Glau in person, and yes, she is that gorgeous in person. If you could be on one of the many shows filmed in Vancouver, which would it be? And why? Keep up the awesomeness, Michael from Toronto. So, live action stuff. First of all, do you do any live action stuff?
I don't.
Me neither.
No.
But if you were going to.
I'm not that comfortable with the way I look on film.
Me neither.
It's pretty lame, actually, but I see pictures of myself and I think, wow, how do I get dates at all? It's just frightening, really.
We are so sailing in that same boat.
As far as that goes, the thought of it terrifies me no end. I think just thinking of an answer for this one, my balls have just retracted like landing gear. And let's move on.
Okay. This one's from Phil, that Texas guy from New Jersey, now living in Texas, but is from New Jersey. I'll keep this short and sweet this time. How was it to play two completely different characters in Inuyasha? The main bad guy, of course, Naraku, and the tiny cowardly flea, Miyoga.
It was a blast because I got to cover all the bases, right? You get to be Naraku with his tentacle blade and just having fun and floating in space and doing all those great things that Naraku did, and all getting cut in half and growing back and slicing people to ribbons, and all the gore and everything that I got to deliver. And then on top of it, I get the comic relief
of being Miyoga, yes. The master has promised to do wonderful things. Oh, look, it's getting dangerous. I'm out of here.
And so, whenever the going got tough, Miyoga got going.
Yes.
Yeah, so
cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Cool. This one's from Kate Lind. Hey guys, not a very unique question, and I hope that it hasn't been asked yet, but for Paul, is there a character that one of your brothers has done that you would have liked to do? And Trevor, I saw some nasty rumors that you had been replaced on Kid vs. Kat by a guy named Tom Kane. I'm hoping that this is not true because you rock the character. Well, first of all, I'll speak to the Kid vs. Kat thing. That is absolutely 100% false. In fact, I talked to the creator, Rob, and he said, Disney Wiki, somebody goes on there and changes the cast like every week. We have to always go and change it back. And I don't know who's doing that, but whoever you are, stop it! Yeah. God damn it! Anyway, for Paul...
There are some very inaccurate sides.
There are. It's ridiculous. Is there a character that one of your brothers has done that you would have liked to have done? Besides all of them, which would be the default response, I would guess.
Well, yeah, think of the money I'd have by now. Just all of them. Ben Grimm's pretty cool, Brian, but Brian's take on that, I wouldn't be able to top that. But just the delivery of some of those lines and being able to say some of those things would have been an absolute hoot.
Yeah.
Mike's had the same sort of roles where the evil, seething, just nastiness that came out, and then just some of the wry humor that gets to be delivered along with it as well. I mean, all those kinds of things. Of course, I would never want to take any roles away from my brother, and if I was ever going to lose a role, I would hope that, sometimes to lose it to a member of the family, at least you're losing it to a member of the family. And that has happened. Don't ask which ones. I've ugly memories that I've pushed away. I just roll there sleepless at night, staring at the ceiling, plotting my revenge.
Throwing darts at pictures of my family.
But I think it's been doled out pretty evenly that I've enjoyed an illustrious career that will go on, playing more evil men, and so will my brothers.
Indeed, I think that is certainly assured. This one is from Brian. Hey, Trevor, it's nice to know that you are back from your hiatus, and here you are in this episode with no less than the mighty Paul Dobson.
Oh!
I discovered your podcast during said hiatus, listened to previous episodes, and I have loved the episodes with your fellow voice actors Scott McNeil and Richard Cox. It's so good to know that the Wiki and IMDb have you listed as Pyro from X-Men Evolution, which we all know by now is the correct voice actor for Pyro, and Mr. Match from Mega Man NT Warrior. I have also enjoyed Mr. Dobson's voicing of Mr. Wily in Mega Man NT Warrior. It's awesome to know that you were the voice of such an iconic character. On to my questions. 1. I have noticed from looking at the wiki that Scott McNeil is currently the voice actor for Toby in Naruto Shippuden, an anime that Viz Media is currently dubbing. So I ask the both of you, have you ever done voice work for a company outside of Ocean Studios? And if so, what shows did you do for that company? Well, I think that the answer to that is yes, obviously. In fact, tons. I've hardly worked at Ocean this year at all. I think the only thing I've done this year is Iron Man, and that is it. Otherwise, all of my work has been with everybody else.
For me, there was a couple, there was some Gundams, Inuyasha. In fact, I've got to go back on, the 23rd of this month for the final pickups for the last little block of Inuyasha shows that we did. But I'm in the same boat as you, that I did not really go to Ocean that much. The bulk of my work was at a myriad of other studios all around town. So there are many other studios, and yes, we like to work in them.
I'm starting to feel a little unloved over at Ocean. I can tell you, I have to have somebody write a memo or something. The second question that Brian has is, I have watched Inuyasha, the final act, and Mega Man NT Warrior stream, and noticed that they haven't been dubbed yet. Do you know if there are plans to dub these shows, or are there some non-disclosure agreements that keep you from talking about them? I have no idea.
No. This one always cracks me up. I find a lot of the time the fans know a lot more about this stuff than we do.
Absolutely.
But that's
more about our careers than we do.
But that's because you guys out there, with the fascination with all this kind of stuff, you guys are digging and finding this information. Obviously it's out there somewhere. And you have better sources than we do, and for the most part, I'm really not a huge computer guy, so I don't delve into that area too much. As far as doing research and that kind of thing, I'm just trying to survive, and so I more so focus on roles that are in the realm of reality, as far as instead of there's so many rumors that go around about all these shows, and there's so many great shows that are in Japanese still, and they haven't even come close. Maybe someone's looking at them and going, that would be a great one in English, and I'm sure that it would, but we don't hear about it as much as they do.
Until we're in the booth, pretty much, recording it. This one is from Justin. Hello, Trevor and Paul. I have a question for Paul. Even though Scott McNeil played him first, you did a great job playing Dr. Wily on Mega Man NT Warrior.
Trying to start a war now, are we?
How did you become the voice of Dr. Wily on that show, since Scott had played him in the original 1990 series?
That comes down to the producers just for some reason or another, maybe Scott wasn't available. It could be a number of different things. I don't know what it was that they would recast something for as far as that goes. That's completely in the hands of someone else. But the way that I got it was I auditioned for it just like anyone else.
Just like anybody else, yeah.
Yeah.
It is bizarre when replacement happens, or when replacements happen, as they do. They
I've
happen.
been replaced many times.
Yep, it happens.
NDA. Ocean. Can't talk about it right now. Painful.
Vein throbbing. I just replaced Louis Chirillo on Johnny Test for the role of Dookie, and that wasn't. That
But
had
that's a
nothing to-
story of love.
That is a story of love.
Triumph.
Yes, triumph. He went off to Brazil to marry his beloved and had to give up his Canadian citizenship, and so for the tax credits they had to.
He
had
found
to get somebody else.
love and pursued it.
That's right. And I found money and pursued that. He gets love, I get money. Together we are happy.
With money, you can find love.
Of a sort.
I don't care
Of a
what
sort.
anyone says. You can.
Love, temporary love, sort of, really. The best kind. Love that doesn't do the pop-in later. Or tell you what to wear, or why. Ask you why your dishes aren't done. Anyway, this is from Naisha from Port Charlotte, Florida. Hey, guys, long-time listener. Thank you, Trevor, for broadcasting your show. I honestly thought Voiceprint was over when I didn't see any new episodes up, but after a quick browse, there it was. Anyhow, I'd like to say, what's with Paul Dobson playing villains? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it when you play the villain. It's very convincing, and oftentimes I would almost think, is he like this in real life? Or maybe you've been picked on by your brothers so much that you feel the need to be a villain. I don't know. First question.
I like your style.
If given the chance, would you voice the young hero type? And if you would, what would your young hero voice sound like? Same question for me. So,
Now, wouldn't we consider Matrix a little bit of a hero?
okay.
He wasn't exactly old. I've played heroes before. I can save galaxies just like anyone else. I don't just want to be the bad guy all the time. There's good in me, and I'll find it again.
One day.
Why you gotta be so mean?
Look what you've done. Thanks for nothing, Naisha.
Yeah, I like playing heroes. It's great. Villains have better toys, though.
Totally. I have better lines most of the time.
Yeah, you get to. Yeah, they always have like the little
Knife with the
Yeah.
twist.
Second question. The only show I've seen where you and your brothers voiced characters that to me were like brothers was my all-time favorite project, Project Arms, where you once again played an evil and uncontrolled monster named Jabberwock. My question, out of all three, who is really the wild and uncontrolled Dobson? Now this is funny. This is a very funny question to me.
I don't know.
I would guess Brian, because not only did he have his spot here, but he's popped in like 3 different episodes of Voiceprint. Now, do you want to answer this for yourself?
No,
or
it's
should
good.
I give?
Let's call it. It's Brian. Yeah, it's definitely Brian. He's uncontrollable. You wouldn't believe what the boy's like. Intervention. That's what I've been thinking. It's not me.
No,
I'm.
Paul spends most of his time at church socials, so he's not a very fun guy. He doesn't like to go out at all, I don't think.
I hate tequila.
Yeah, and
Strong.
people, to drink
Yeah.
the tequila off of is really not something.
And the next question.
This is from Kathy. Paul, out of you and your brothers, who was the biggest bully, and what did he or you do to torture one another?
These people are trying to rip at the very fabric of my family.
Is nothing sacred.
We don't want them getting along anymore.
Let's see what kind of crap we can cause.
So you're the middle
biggest
brother,
bully?
first of all, right?
I am
mean,
the
there's Mike,
middle.
and then you, and there's Brian.
And we've all had, it's called siblings, like everyone. For the most part, we get along great most of the time. But I mean, we've had some pretty good doozies.
As family does.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my sister and myself, I mean, she used to throw me down the stairs, for God's sake. And until that one day where I was strong enough she went to throw me down the stairs, and I spun her around, and her eyeballs grew like golf balls, and I said, not this time. Now it's your turn. And sure enough, she just grabbed a hold and said, well, if I'm going, you're coming with me. And sure enough, we both went down the stairs that day. Wow. I know.
That's love, man. That's love, boys.
I've been in fights with Mike. I've been in fights with Brian. I remember one memorable one with Brian was we weren't getting along this one particular day. And I had picked up a set of 2 boxing gloves like I had, you know.
Yeah.
So I carefully put them in a bag, making sure that Mom and Dad didn't see what I was doing in the backyard. And I went around to the picnic table that was hidden by a bunch of trees and on this little grove sort of in the back so they wouldn't see us as we were about to engage in a little pugilism. So Brian was in his room seething about the argument that we'd just had. And so I put the boxing gloves out there and I went up and I went into his room and I said, in my calm, cool, collected, but probably manically insane voice, yeah, well, we're not getting along, apparently, right? Well, feel like the big man? Come on, big man, let's go out in the back and let's go settle it. Come on. Don't say anything loud. I mean, Mom and Dad don't need to know about this at all. And Brian got this look on his face, and he just went, why wait? And just bang, just smacked me right in the chest, threw me back into the wall. I had no idea it was going to turn out like this. And he just like jumped on me. And so now and then Mom comes around, oh no, brothers aren't supposed to fight. You're not supposed to fight. Jumped in the middle and pulled us apart. I'm just looking at him thinking, you little bastard. We had a chance to go out and really figure it out. Who is it going to be? No, you little impatient. I walked away just so angry, and Brian was just he's like, his eyes are all welling up because he's just so angry, seething. But yeah, we've all had our fights, and I've fought every single one of my sibs, and not that I like it, but no, sometimes it's satisfying at the time.
Some gestalt there.
Oh, yeah.
This one's from Desiree. Mom and I always split our sides laughing at Haposai. I don't know if I'm never pronouncing these names right. In Ranma 1/2. Mm-hmm. But there were times when I imagined his constant cries of, what a haul, would have been an awful strain on the throat. Do you ever use any kind of warm-up regime or exercises for your voice before a particularly strenuous recording session? And if so, do you have any tips for those of us who struggle to keep up the cartoony voices for long periods of time?
Well, I find that warming up by stealing women's underwear is a really good thing for me, really. And if you... No, never mind. I won't go there. Yeah, just as far as anything goes, having a nice glass of just room temperature water in the room is good. If I'm going to be doing anything that is particularly strenuous, Dawn of War. Lemon tea, mint tea, like peppermint tea. Peppermint tea is especially quite good. It's good. And for damage that's incurred, there's a particular thing out there called Ninjom. And
Ninjom?
Yeah, it's like a honey-based herbal extract. And that is quite good for helping vocal cords recover and such.
Cool.
But warm tea, like as hot as you can sort of take it, not scalding, obviously, but I do find that the warm tea is absolutely one of the top ones for that kind of thing.
Cool. This is sort of a connected question from Bob.
And there are techniques of screaming where one doesn't have to shred, but it only takes you so far. And sometimes you know that the directors or something like, okay, that one that you just did right there, and you've just given 200% of what you're capable of doing, and they'd want you to up it. You know, double that, because they're just not taking into consideration that
the human frailties.
Oh
of,
my God! Yeah.
That's why Ian Corlett always says, no, never more than 70%.
Yeah.
Never.
It's a great rule. But, you always want to impress, and so stupid us.
No kidding. This is a connected question from Bob. Something he's always wondered about. What was your first impression of Haposai from Ranma 1/2, if you remember?
He's insane. Here's a balding midget who loves to run around stealing. No, I take it back. It's genius.
It is genius.
Genius. You see, all he does is bury his face in big boobs all the time and such a... Wow.
Wait, is that the character? Or
Yeah.
It's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
Well, I've tried to carry this through into real life, but, the restraining orders. I'll call them NDAs.
This is from Jeffrey. Hello again, man they call Devall. Question for both you and Paul. What are your views on typecasting, since it is both pros and cons? Would you like to be typecast, or is that something that you'd rather avoid as a voice actor?
I'd like to avoid typecasting, but I guess, if it's getting you work.
Yeah, I don't really think that's been a problem for me over the past years. We're all pretty versatile in this gang, and so it's... there are some people that do like the things they do very well. Like, for example, Kirby and the Hero, right? Kirby he's got the hero guy down. That doesn't mean there's nothing else he does.
Yeah.
But I think you play a lot of villains, but I don't think you'd consider yourself typecast as a villain.
No, if anything, I find that a lot of producers, they have a tendency to forget what you're capable of.
Yes.
So,
there is that.
You got to audition for these things that they should just be going, you're perfect for this.
Exactly.
Here, just do this.
Just take it.
But no, and now with the trimming of the fat as far as the industry is going, and trust me, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
They don't even call us into the studios to audition anymore. It's become MP3s, and thus I'm sitting where I'm sitting right now, which looks very much like the Starship Enterprise. And we've got Kirk at the helm right now with his phaser set to fabulous.
Zing!
But it's good. If this is what it's going to be and it gets us work, for me, my setup is, it's nowhere near as elaborate as what I'm sitting in right now. I tell you, there's laser beams in here. I've got a Mac Mini and a snowball.
Hey, whatever works, man.
But I've gotten roles with it, so there you go, kids. You don't have to spend a fortune just to be able to put an MP3 together.
That's right. That is
go
true.
out there and go get that snowball and have yourself a ball.
This is from Dave. Hello, Trevor. Thanks
Apple
for
better
hosting.
Give me some free stuff.
Have a little plug. Thanks for hosting podcasts with voice actors from the Ocean Group. They're enjoyable. I would like to know if Paul intends to reprise his role as Zarbon in Dragon Ball Kai. Well, this...
we answered that one.
We sort of did, yeah.
Not to cheapen the question.
Not at all. I think Paul did a really good job in Dragon Ball Z, and I liked how he put on a British accent for Zarbon in Ocean's dub. So I hope to hear Paul as Zarbon in Dragon Ball Kai. Well... so does he, and so do I.
I'd love it.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Graham.
Thanks for the kind words, by the way.
This is from Graham. Hello, Mr. Devall and Mr. Dobson. First, I'd like to say I love the show and look forward to the future episodes. My question for Paul is this. I've noticed that throughout your career as a voice actor, you seem to specialize in two character types, as we've just talked about typecasting. Brutish enforcer-style characters like Graham Aker from Gundam 00 and Matrix from Reboot, and cunning, slimy masterminds, Naraku and from Inuyasha, and Moo from Monster Rancher. Of the two...
Moo is fun.
Of the two, which do you prefer? Of the two, of the only two you've ever played, the only two types of characters you've been typecast as, which do you prefer playing and why? Well, I've
been typecast and I didn't even know it. Wow. We were just talking about that and I didn't think it existed. Oh, God. I'm a bad person.
Apparently the fans have decided that you're capable of two things. Well, it's, obviously, like you say.
Don't the ladies prefer the bad boy?
Exactly. And if you had to pick one, which of course you can't, because you can't, the characters are always
it's
different.
All a crapshoot.
Exactly.
We're flying by the seat of our pants here, folks. Just trying to survive.
I'll take whatever you give me. This is from Gen. It's Gen here from Edmonton, a longtime fan, a new subscriber. I first heard you as Mordred Payne on Dragon Booster. As a kid, I would wake up, sleep deprived, just to watch it on Saturday mornings on CBC. I still give that show so much love. I have to say that having a podcast with Canadian voice actors was one of the best ideas in the history of God knows what. Well, I agree.
You're on fire. You're on fire, man.
I just listened to the Intermission episode with Kirby, Sam, and Gardner. Among one of the funniest Voiceprints episodes, something struck me. Do you think you could do an episode of Voiceprint exclusively with Dragon Booster voice actors and reminisce about the old days? Well, that's possible. I will try and talk to the boys about that.
I guess I'll walk away now. I wasn't on that show.
We're getting to you. I would greatly appreciate it. Love your guys' awesomeness. Also, salutations to Mr. Paul Dobson. You did such a good job on Naraku and Inuyasha to the point I hated your guts so much. And that proves how amazing you are. The question I want to ask is this. Has there ever been any character in a show you're voiced in or otherwise that you've absolutely loved, like almost as much as you love a regular person? Voice actors are freaking amazing. I love you people. Don't waste your awesomeness. It is needed. Any character that you've loved?
Loved. Oh, wow. I loved doing Naraku. It was good. Matrix was lots of fun. You know what it comes down to for me? It's not so much what the character's doing all the time and how evil he is. It's whether or not he's got some juicy scenes. It's so rare that you get to work on a cartoon where the writers have actually taken into accordance that part of your job title is voice actor. Actor. Yes. Don't you love it when people come up to you and you get this question? So, you're in voice. Do you ever do any acting? Do you ever like do any real acting? Any real acting? Well. Yes. I'm really acting when I'm looking at you with a smile on my face right now because I'd like to kill you. But that's any part that at least has juiciness to it. A scene, just a scene is just like I've had some where, I mean, it's supposed to be an emotional scene and you bury yourself so far, like at the end of the scene, you don't even realize it, but you've got tears running down your eyes because you buried yourself in that scene. Yeah. That's what I love. I love that kind of thing. So it's not any one particular role. It's whether or not it's well written and if it gives you the chance to
show the chops.
Flex your chops, man. That's right. That's the blast. I love those moments. They don't come around too often. But now and then they do. Or, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, a big emotional thing. It can be, like, just a really good comic moment. Like, it's not all about the villains, people. I do other things.
This show that we're doing now...
I've been a hamster, for God's sakes.
This Action Dad show that we're doing now, I think those scripts are very fun. Tremendously funny. Lots of great comic moments.
If we could only talk to you about this. Fans, I gotta tell you... We're working on, and Trevor's characters on the show are absolutely I don't want to swear, but brilliant. And he's got a lot of them as well. I get to play a guy on this show, and it's just kind of a big dumb
Jesse Ventura thing, which I love.
Not that Jesse Ventura's dumb. He's tougher than I am. He could beat me up at any time. And he has connections to have me killed. If he wanted to. But yeah, I get to play like a Jesse Ventura
sort of type. He's got that sound to his voice, you know. Yeah. You're going down.
Every time Paul has a line in that show, I'm loving it. I laugh my head off. I just love it.
It is a blast. But juicy rolls.
Juicy rolls. Yeah. This one's from Vic. Hey Trevor, another new episode and another new weird question. Trevor, the Vic with the weird questions. Here we go. If you were trapped on an island with the Dobson 3, Trevor.
I'm sorry.
Which one of them? I'm sorry. First of all,
I'm sorry.
Which one of them would you eat? Now, I'm not going anywhere near
wow
the implications of it. Which one of them would I eat?
Well, Mike's worked out probably the most of all of us, so his muscles would be tough.
Yeah, pretty tough. He'd be like an old mule.
That'd be like jerky.
I think Brian's probably... well, I don't know. You guys are all in real good shape. It's hard to say. If I had to take a haunch off somebody...
Can't you put him on an island with a beautiful woman? What's with that? You want to eat a guy? A guy? Come on, I don't have the words right now.
I know.
I don't want to be eaten by Trevor on an island.
Well, here, Paul, if you were trapped on an island with your brothers and Trevor, I would assume you and your brothers would eat Trevor, but couldn't eat Trevor for whatever reason. Which one of your brothers would you eat? It just gets worse now. Now you gotta, not just a man, but your own flesh and blood.
And, like...
Vic, this is a retarded question. Let me just say. Full out.
Would you like to eat your brother's buttocks?
No, I wouldn't. No, it's just, wow.
All right, I'm skipping that one.
Wow.
This is an interesting one. This is from the Peoples Brothers. Dear intrepid host, my name is Jake and my twin brother's name is Zach, who is co-writing this letter with me. We have been fans of yours since we first heard your work on Gundam Seed and Death Note. We've also been a fan of your guest Paul Dobson from when he played the character Anubis on the show Ronin Warriors.
Quake with fear!
As well as Falcon.
I just wanted to say fucking Falcon.
in Vision of Escaflowne. We would just like to say that we're huge fans of the podcast, and it always puts a smile on our face on our way to work at 5 a.m. Your voice and the voice of your guests, as well as the glorious humor that you bring to the show, makes getting up early seem fun. Well, it gives us something to look forward to.
Work at 5 a.m., wow.
Oh, who does that? Not us.
We will get to the point now and ask some questions of you and your guest. From Zach. Trevor, I know that you are quite the musician and play the guitar.
He's very good.
Oh, thank you.
It's fun.
What I would like to know is, one, what type of music do you like to play? And this next one is for both you and Paul. What are some of your favorite bands? I do a lot of acoustic, folky, Celtic stuff. That's sort of the majority of the stuff I play. The stuff I like, I'm all over the place. I like all kinds of stuff.
I like the Black Keys. I like Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. I like Black Mountain.
I'm facing a
There's
theme
a
here.
black thing going on there, people.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. There's a lot of bands with Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
I'm what you call a little bit of a rocker.
Yeah.
But I do like the bluesy stuff as well. Eagles of Death Metal, love that.
I mean, he was a former DJ, man. This list could go on forever.
It could. I love classic rock, but there's some great new stuff coming out right now as well. So, but a lot of classic rock. Stuff. Yeah, definitely.
From Jake, I would like to know, say you meet someone for the first time. Oh, this is actually an interesting question.
Angel City.
Say you meet someone for the first time and you get to the part of the conversation where you talk about your professions. The question is, what are people's initial reaction to finding out that you were a voice actor?
Perform, monkey. Perform. I might as well just say that when people come up, they're like,
I do a great Donald Duck.
well, I'm sorry to say that job's taken, has been for quite some time. For the most part, people want you to perform, monkey. Perform. Isn't that the first thing they tell it?
Do a funny voice.
Yeah. Oh, what cartoons are you on? To which I respond, do you watch a lot of cartoons?
No.
No? Well then. I'm on every cartoon you've never seen.
That's pretty much it. It can sometimes it almost drives. Well, sometimes I don't say what I do for a living.
Yes. I'm a plumber. I'm a corporate tax accountant. That's what corporate tax.
Shift some numbers for me.
This is from Meng Zin.
Abacus something.
Meng Zin Jiang. I'm probably not at all pronouncing that right, so my apologies. Dear Trevor and the lovely and talented and awesome Paul Dobson.
I'm lovely.
I just wanted to say that I'm lovely. I just wanted to say that I love your podcast. They are freaking hilarious. My favorite character Paul has played would be Naraku from Inuyasha, on which he did an awesome job. I prefer his version over the Japanese because Paul made Naraku sound much more sinister and creepy. My question for him is, are you going to play Naraku again or on Inuyasha the final act?
I is.
Okay.
I am.
And
I have been. I've seen things.
things. Yeah, I've got the final recording, as I said before.
Right, it's coming up
on I think the 23rd.
And I know you can't really say much about this, but Meng also wants to know what are your thoughts about it. I mean,
about it being over?
Sure, she says.
Bye paycheck. Bye. No, it's not all about a paycheck. I enjoyed doing that character immensely because it's almost catharsis. You get to go in there and destroy.
That's a lot of episodes too in that show.
Oh man, yeah,
just endless amounts.
Definitely.
Well, it's sad that it's over. And also what is over is this list of questions. We have finally come now to the end of the show. This is, I think, almost the new record. This is a very, very long show now. We're at the hour 45 minute right now.
Sweet.
Unbelievable. So thank you so much for coming on the show,
Thanks,
Paul. At long last.
for having me. I appreciate it very much. And thanks to all the fans out there that like my work, that enjoyed listening to the sound of my voice do different funny things. Because, I mean, if it wasn't for you guys out there, I wouldn't have a job because, I mean, as actors, we wouldn't pay each other to do this. we wouldn't. It just wouldn't happen that way. And if there weren't commercials, like cartoons are basically commercials for toys.
Pretty much.
And if there weren't people out there that enjoyed the toys, please buy lots of toys for any new shows that we're on, because that'll ensure us that we're going to get picked up and we get to do this more and longer for all of you.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm eternally grateful to everyone that tuned in and everyone out there that appreciates my work. I am an extremely fortunate man for being able to do so. I love going to my job every day that I'm booked, and when I'm not booked, I miss doing my job.
Me too.
So thanks to everyone. Much love and best wishes to everyone. Everyone that wants to get out there and get into this line of work. If that's what your passion is, if that's what your dream is, give it a go, because you'll never know until you try.
Truer words have not been spoken. For episode 29 of Voiceprint with Trevor Devall and Guests, we have a very, very special episode coming up. This is totally new. This is a totally new thing.
Totally nude?
Totally nude thing, yes.
I knew I wasn't the only one.
The next episode is going to be very special. If you recall the classic 80s cartoon Voltron, Defender of the Universe, that was made from the Japanese version Go Lion, it had a great following back then, and today enjoys a bit of a cult status with a core of loyal fans. Well, the creators of Voltron at World Event Productions are relaunching the franchise with an all-new, souped-up version of the show for the 21st century. All your favorite and beloved characters are still there. Keith, Lance, Hunk, Pidge, Princess Allura, plus some new faces. And the best thing is that all the voices are being recorded in Vancouver. So as a Voiceprint exclusive, in January, we are heading into the studio after the final recording session of the last episode of the first season of Voltron, where we are going to do a little Q&A with the cast of the show and the creative director at World Event Productions, Jeremy Corey. Now, some of the actors you haven't had a chance to hear yet, like Andrew Francis, somebody asked about him earlier, Ron Halder, and Ashley Ball, will all be part of the roundtable discussion, so get your questions in for that. Voltron is going to be a big show. It was a big show back in the day, and it's going to be a bigger show now, and we have the very unique opportunity to go in and speak with everybody at once in the actual studio where they are recording it. So if you have any questions for any of those guys at all, including Sam, he's sort of one of the leads on it as well, anything Voltron related whatsoever, write them in to fans@TrevorDevall.com or voiceprint@TrevorDevall.com. That's it for me. That's it for you. That's it for all of us.
Thanks, everyone.
And see you on the flip side.